Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome on a live African safari here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, South Africa. In FC. Welcome, and where we are sitting right now, the reason I've been sitting here quietly for so long is that we noticed a tortoise as we drove up, and he's now trying to escape us. I'm just going to roll forward. For those of you who might be new, we are completely live, so everything we see, you see, bar a few seconds. And we are interactive. You can send us questions, and you can do that via email using the email questions@WildEarthTV, or if you're on Twitter, you can use the hashtag SafariLive. So there, we're starting our game drive with the leopard, but just not the feline variety. This is a leopard tortoise. It's quite a big one. Unfortunately, we can't see his mouth there, but he has got some nice green grass in his mouth. And the reason he's out moving is because of this late rain we've had. So tortoises are very, very water dependent during the dry season. And this late rain has sort of given the tortoises a new sort of late lease on life. And they are now out feeding. The reason they don't move around, it can take them a long time to move between water points. I'm just going to try drive around to the other side of him. I'll explain why we don't touch them or pick them up in a few seconds. There's a very important reason why. One of the way a tortoise defends itself is it's basically urinates, and it's very smelly and sticky and viscous. If you can see his head from here. Do you want me to move? Just let me know. A little bit back. Yeah. Try a different angle now. I think he's popped his head back inside for a second while we're moving the vehicle. No, it is still out. So I'm just going to try to see if we can get it. I think there's a small gap there for you. So the reason we don't pick them up, so their defense mechanism is to release their bowels, and they urinate very sticky, viscous, and smelly substance, but that is also 80% of their water. And so they only do that when they're under high stress, and picking up an animal like a tortoise, that would cause high stress for them or moving them. So that's one of the main reason we don't pick up animals like tortoises. You can see his head lifting there slightly. What I'm hoping he'll do is he might move a little bit through the grass towards us, and then we can have a better look at him. But he'll be very, very happy with all this green grass that's sprung up after the rain, and having a good sort of feed before the dry season sets in. Quite big, quite old. I guess he's definitely over 20 years old. I'm not the best at aging tortoises, so I'm not going to try to be too specific, but I'd say he is quite old. Another very interesting fact about the tortoises is generally, if it's been dry for a couple of days, and then you start seeing tortoises moving around, it's a very good indication that the rain is going to come within the next next 12 hours. They have an unbelievable ability to smell rain, or I don't know whether it's rain or moisture in the air, and they start moving around when they know they're going to have lots of little puddles and pans and stuff to be able to drink from, and so that's when they start moving around. So we're actually sitting in an area that's just very close to Gallagher and Vuyatela camp. I know Scott was trying to follow up on some monkey alarm calls in this area this morning, and during the day we heard monkey and squirrel alarming in this area. So we've come to check to see if we can find any tracks around here or any sign of leopard. So hopefully we will get that chance, and we will hopefully find a cat in this area. But I will be going back to also just check on the lions that you guys were with this morning. For those of you who were out on drive with Scott this morning, a little bit later, I'm quite sure they're very lazy at the moment. It's about 26 degrees Celsius, which is 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is still quite warm. So I don't think there's going to be too much action with the lions right now. So that's why we're going to have a look for leopard. But we will definitely go follow up on the Nkuhuma pride a little bit later. Well, patience is the game when waiting for a tortoise to move, it seems. Oh, he's decided he wants to change direction. Very slow, steady movements. So they're called a leopard tortoise because of the markings on the shell. They do resemble leopard rosettes. So this is the area where Mark found those two young male leopards together last night. So it could be quite interesting to see if both of them are still in the area or just one's decided to stay in the area. So we'll see what happens. But very interesting dynamics between those two young males. I personally haven't seen them together yet. I'd really be fascinated to see if one made a kill and one actually came upon it. Who is the dominant between those two young males? As you know, they're for those of you who don't know, they're littermates, so they're the same age, and they have vastly different personalities. And there's always a lot of debate amongst the rangers and cameramen and everyone about who's the best and who's the more dominant. But it would be a very interesting thing to watch. Well, I don't think this tortoise is going to be moving too much more. Oh no, there we go. I think he might be heading into the shade, into the bottom of this little thicket. Be a good place for him to hide from predators. He might move out through towards the drainage line. But I'm going to keep an eye on him. It'd be nice for you guys to be able to see him when he's not in the long grass. We're going to give him a little bit of space for a few minutes, and maybe he might pop out. And also, by sitting here quietly waiting for the tortoise, it gives us a chance to listen to the bush. And the bush might be a gap there, right? See his face. And listening to the bush is very important when it comes to finding and tracking animals. A lot of your other species will let you know that there's a predator around. Even little birds and squirrels, obviously your bigger mammals that are preyed on by the predators, nyala, kudu, bushbuck. And you can see there how the camouflage, why the tortoise's skull is dappled like that. I've got a question for you guys out there. It's probably going to be quite a list, but can anyone tell me some of the let's cut it down, make it a bit easier. No, let's keep it open-minded. So who can tell me a couple of predators? Let's just say there are quite a few. Let's say just 5 predators that feed off tortoises. You can send your answers to questions at WildEarthTV, or if you're on Twitter, just use the hashtag SafariLive. We really do appreciate all your questions, and we do try to answer as many as possible. Your questions help us on our drives. It gives us something to talk about, and specifically what you guys would like to speak about. And it's our absolute privilege to be able to share our passion for the African bush with so many of you all over the world. So thanks again for sending in the questions and watching us out on live game drive. I think he's got into the shade. Okay, well, let's go see if we can find some leopards. Good afternoon, Ellen from Illinois. Ellen would like to know what differentiates a tortoise from a turtle or a terrapin. Well, from a turtle, I think in the northern hemisphere you guys have a different definition for tortoises and turtles, and I think you actually might call tortoises turtles. I'm not 100% sure on that, but from my understanding in this part of the world, a tortoise, we only get two species in this area, which is the leopard tortoise we've just seen, and a Spix hinged tortoise. And the difference is those tortoises are completely terrestrial, so they feed on, they graze out on the grass, and they live on land. Whereas a terrapin, which is another thing compared to a turtle, is sort of for me, halfway between a tortoise and a turtle. A terrapin is semi-aquatic or mostly aquatic, lives in these muddy pans and dams, and is quite a ferocious predator, feeds off insects and other things rather than grazing. And then finally, for me, a turtle is what we'd find in the ocean and has flippers and sort of is completely aquatic. And the only time they come onto the land is to lay eggs on the beach. But so the terrapin will move between muddy holes and does have legs, but it has webbed feet so it can swim. So that's the way I like to remember it. You've got a tortoise, it's completely terrestrial, it lives on the land. A terrapin is semi-aquatic, it can walk between different places, but it does have webs between its feet so it can swim. And then a turtle has got flippers and is almost 100% aquatic, with the only time it coming onto the shore is to lay eggs. But that's how I remember them. Maybe you guys have got some different ways. I'd love to hear about it if you do. So I'm just going very, very slowly into this drainage line. As I said, quite warm at the moment. Nice cool sand, be a good place for an animal like a leopard to rest up. Good. Good afternoon, Barbara from Maryland. Barbara would like to know, do tortoises eat marula fruit? They might. I personally have never seen a tortoise eat marula fruit, but it is possible. Let me see. I just want to check very carefully here in the drainage line. Okay. I've just spotted, Brian, if you have a look at this russet bush willow here, yeah. There's a kingfisher sitting in the shadows. So if you see where the largest branch is coming out. Yeah. Okay, go to the right, tighter, and to the left, and center. Unfortunately, that was a brown hooded kingfisher. He didn't sit for too long. Hopefully, we'll find another one that's sitting in a bit better light as well. But also, we're just checking very carefully. Nice, cool area around the drainage line. a good place for a leopard to rest up during the day. Good afternoon, Mary from Missouri. Mary sent through leopard, lion, hyena, jackal, and crocodile. Well, I've never ever heard of a crocodile eating a tortoise, but it is definitely possible. But yes, I've seen lion, leopard, hyena eating tortoise. I've personally never seen jackal, but that doesn't mean it's not possible, specifically with the younger ones. Try something here. I just saw a little dwarf mongoose scurry into this termite mound. Let's see if we can get him to come out. He's being a bit shy. Oh dear. Oh, obviously this dwarf mongoose doesn't want to be bothered. So, we've just been heading through this drainage line, looking for any sign of leopards. We managed to spot a brown-hooded kingfisher that was sitting in a thicket, and it disappeared. Hopefully we'll be able to get a better view of one of those kingfishers somewhere else on drive. But we will keep looking for everything, not only the big and scaries, but also the here, up on the edge of the drainage lines. Lots of nice thick shade for the hot part of the day. There's a leopard-like stump under that tree over there. We tend to see a lot of those leopard-like and lion-like stumps and bushes and rocks and termite mounds, but it always pays to check them, because they could turn into a leopard one day. Got a question for one of our Zoomies, Mike. Good afternoon, Mike. Welcome on Drive. Mike would like to know, what are the small five, and can I get a little bit of information on them? Well, we've seen one of the members of the small five, the big five. So we have a red-billed buffalo weaver, an lion, and a rhinoceros beetle. And quite often the small five in this part of the world We do have all occurring, but I think I've never seen all the small 5 in one day. I think the is 4 out of the small 5. The hardest one of them to find would definitely be the elephant shrew. But they are here, but I'd have to go scuttling around setting mouse traps to go try find an elephant shrew. There are a couple of species. I think we actually had a conversation about, and we figured out there were 3 species of elephant shrew that occur in this area. All of them quite small and quite hard to find. But the buffalo weavers they've got big nests, those big thorny nests that you see all together, and nester. So there'll be multiple animals that nest in the same place. Just checking carefully. Buffalo bull moving away from the dam. Go on, go chase a leopard for us. Ellen in New Jersey, thanks very much. She's just mentioning a few more animals that might possibly predate on a tortoise. On tortoises, is there? I said, oh sorry, that's not a golden eagle. That's an imperial eagle, I think. From fly, you lift them very high and then drop them. But one of the more interesting bird species we get in this area, tortoise, is the African ground hornbill, or the southern ground hornbill. So this old buffalo bull's finished his spa day down in the mud, and it's probably heading off to go graze, or find a nice shady spot to choose the cud. So there we go. And they're very, very big birds, about 100 centimeters in height. Their range has been reduced greatly over the last 100 years. They're very, very good indicator species of a healthy ecosystem. So when you do see ground hornbills regularly, it is a very good indicator of a healthy ecosystem. So the way they hunt tortoises is they actually use their beak as a hammer and pick a hole in the tortoise's shell. So it's a southern ground hornbill. The lions were left, and see what haven't moved during the day, and if they have, it'll just give us a bit of a chance to track. There's a little bit of so what we're going to do is head towards where Scott left the lions this morning. Though this rain's given quite a different scape to the bush. We've got tortoises moving, we've got definitely a few more bugs, some butterflies out and about. The lions were lying up relatively close to where these buffalo are. I haven't seen them since. So hopefully they've digested quite a lot of buffalo and they are hungry and will be on the move again this evening. These are the buffalo that we're referring to. They are big old buffalo bulls, so it'll be interesting to see if they choose to try hunt these old bulls or start searching out for the big herd of buffalo again that they were following a couple of days ago before we started seeing them again. So a group of buffalo bulls like this probably offers a little bit more danger than a buffalo herd, because there are youngsters, sub-adults and babies in the herd, and with that many animals, when the lions race into them, they can cause quite a bit of pandemonium and chaos and panic. So no one's really sure what's going on. Very, very exciting to watch though. So nice to have these lions back on Djuma. We haven't, until they arrived this last time. We had only had a couple of very brief glimpses over our northern boundary of them. So good to have them back. Start keeping a lookout. They were in this general area, so checking under all the shady bushes, looking for that flat cat. Lions are very good at dozing, and on average they will sleep for 20 hours out of 24, and even when they do move, it's generally very short bursts of movement. As I said, checking carefully. So, I think we just spotted a lion belly just off the road there. So that's one of the ways we try find lions, is when, especially when it's a bit warm still, they're sleeping and their underbelly is a bit lighter than the rest of them, and that sort of gives us the opportunity to spot them. Just trying to make sure. There we go. There's some kitty cats, rather large ones, but so there should be 8 lions in this pride. At the moment I can see, oh no, there are the rest of them behind there in a pile of lions. So if you can see there's a lion. If we just have a look a little bit behind, you'll see that pale belly that we spotted from the road. So that's sort of one of the things you do look out for when you know you're looking for lions, and that sort of shines. It's sort of a marker for us. Even when we're tracking on foot, we look for that sort of pale belly to show us where they are. So they're probably about 200 meters or so away from where those buffalo are resting at the dam. So I said we just wanted to come in and have a check where they were. They're not in the best position for a sighting, lying up in a tambuti thicket, which is these little trees around here. Very slow growing trees and that, so we don't want to push them around too much. And also, there's no real access for a good visual. But now we know where they are, and we know where they are in relation to where the buffalo are. So that bodes well for, hopefully, some entertainment this evening. Try and move a little bit closer, just see what happens. So we've got a young male and a lioness. The rest of the pride are lying up behind them. Lots of flies on them as well. Still quite full. They did kill a buffalo a few days ago. But I think a few of the members of the pride could be starting to think about their next meal now. That's another thing we look for when we're tracking on foot, or even looking for lions from a vehicle. That slight little ear movement with the black on it. Another one of those indicators we look for when we are searching for lions. Because, as I said, for the majority of the day, they are very flat cats. So you look for that sort of pale belly and the flick of movement from the ear or from a tail. So you don't stumble upon them too close when you're on foot. Seems the weight's getting too much. And a lot of that ear twitching is from annoying insects like flies. We can actually see some flies buzzing around that young male's ear, and they do bite. And you'll notice quite a few lions and leopards and hyenas have very tatty ears, and a lot of that is from those biting flies. You can see there's actually a fly on his eyelid at the moment. His feet look far bigger than they should be for his body. He's still got a bit of growing to do to grow into his feet. Good afternoon, Terry. Welcome on Drive with us. Terry is from the UK. Terry, opportunists. If an animal happened to walk into them, even while they were full and fast asleep, they would take opportunity to kill that animal, and they would feed on it later. They do not mind rotten meat. They will eat absolutely putrid meat, so that is not an issue for them. And I've seen lions in northern Botswana that have still been busy eating an elephant, sleeping, and they caught an adult cow buffalo while they still had possibly a week's worth of meat left on the elephant carcass. So they are opportunists, and they will eat, or they will kill even when they are full and not hungry. But as I said, it's more opportunistic. They won't put too much effort into it. If it happens to sort of stumble upon them, then they will. Christina would like to know whether lions will eat and digest bones and teeth. Well, bones, yes, Christina, specifically the smaller ones. They will chew them up. They won't be able to digest all of the bone, and a lot of it will come out in their feces, but they are able to digest a portion of it. With the teeth, I don't think so. Being enamel and whatnot, they'll just pass through normally. But the main thing that lions are not able, or most animals are not able to digest, is hair and keratin. So the hooves, the horns, and the hair. And you will find pieces of the hoof, and sometimes the horn, and a lot of hair in the feces of these animals. We'll stay here for a little bit longer, although I don't think they're gonna move too soon. It is quite a nice view of this young boy who's lying up next to us. Though it is cooling off quite early. They've actually chosen, from our point of view, very difficult spot for us to work with. So I don't know if Brian can show you quickly. We're sort of in between these two erosion ditches. They're natural erosion ditches from rain and whatnot. So you can see it's quite steep and quite difficult, and we're basically on a tiny spit of land between two of these. This is actually the least bad of the two. The one off the front of the vehicle is very, very steep and can't even see into it. It's sort of a vertical cliff right off the nose of the car, and there you can see the lines there, and there's another vertical dip sort of just off behind this tree that the bonnet's touching, and the lines on this tiny little piece of land between the two. So this is pretty much the only place we're able to view them from. And they sort of stretch. Let's see how many I can actually count. I've got 1, 2 right next to us. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I can see the full pride. Having a scratch. So life's going to get quite interesting for this young male in the next year or so, as he gets to a stage where he's possibly going to be pushed out by the dominant male lions in the area, and he's going to have to go find his own way. And hopefully for him, he finds some other young males that are in the same predicament, and they'll form a coalition. But but they will generally move quite far from their natal territory, and this is to stop inbreeding. Here we go. Well, it looks like they're going to make up a choice for us. Too lazy to move. So we're still sitting here with the Nkuhuma Pride Alliance. As you can see, there's not much happening. They're all sort of flat. There are some buffalo not too far from here. So we're hoping that they will get up and stretch as it gets cooler. Although there's still quite a few full bellies, I think some of the other members of the pride who might not have got as much buffalo as the greedy ones might be thinking about hunting again. So it'll be interesting to see what they do later, and we'll definitely be making our way back as it gets cooler, and hopefully they'll start moving. Okay, sleepy kitties. We'll see you a bit later. Okay, well, we know where the lines are, so we've basically set up our afternoon. We've got a nice plan. We know they're sleeping here. There's water not far, and at the water there's buffalo. So we're definitely going to be back here, probably about in an hour or so, and hopefully that by that time it will cool down enough that they would have started moving towards either to have a drink, and hopefully, you never know, chase some buffalo around. So in the meantime, we're gonna head down towards our southern boundary. I did hear from Mark that he had leopard tracks heading towards an area called Philemon's Dip, and heading west from there. So we're definitely going to have a look in that area, and hopefully we'll come up with some tracks, or even better, a leopard. Also, it'd be nice to see some eddies. Haven't seen them for a while. So good place to check at this time of the day is around the water. So off we go. Seems like a bit of cloud cover coming in. Still quite warm. Good afternoon, Ashley from the UK. Ashley's asking about white lions. Why are they white, and do they have diminished chance of survival because of that color specific being? Well, what most white lions have is not albinism, or which we have for albinos. You'll notice that it's very pink around the eyes and that, and the skin is also very pink. It leads to a lot of sunburn, can damage them quite badly. Whoa, speaking of elephants, we said we wanted to see some elephants around the corner. Here's a young bull. So I'm pretty sure that hopefully should be a herd. Sorry, we didn't mean to. You were just hiding around the corner. What could we do? We apologize profusely.
Sorry.
Yes, there we go. So he could be by himself. He could have been pushed out of the herd. But what I'm hoping is he's on the periphery of a bigger breeding herd. Isn't that nice? Just say we'd like to see some elephants and around the corner. It's amazing how the bush works like that. You never know what's going to be around the next corner. So I'm hoping he hasn't annoyed the adult females in the herd too much, that he's been chased far away, and that he's just on the peripheries. So he's probably, he's a teenager, and when they are that age, they are pushed to the peripheries and sometimes pushed completely out of the herds because their testosterone's running, and they just tend to be a little bit too boisterous and aggressive around the females with the young calves, so they actually get pushed out of the herd. And if he's heading off in that direction, hopefully the rest of the herd's off in that direction. So being a teenager, he might shake his head at us quite a bit, trumpet and make noise. He's just showing off like most teenagers, specifically teenage boys. There we go. Head up. He's reminding us that he's big and scary. I just saw a branch flicking off, but it's not. He's gonna chase an impala just because he can. By the looks of his demeanor, he's dropping his head. He's getting ready. There's an impala scratching his head against the bush. There we go. Chase the impala just to show how tough he is, being a proper teenage boy. The impala didn't actually take too much notice of him. Now he's turned around to look at the impala again. He's like, oh, they didn't actually run, but they should run from me. I'm big and I'm scary. What's going on? I'm an elephant. Everyone's supposed to be scared of me. But most animals in the bush know or can recognize the behavior of a young bull elephant, and they don't take too much notice of it. I mean, the impala moved off about 5 meters. He's looking like he wants to go chase them again. He's sort of giving them the evil eye. You can see the impala. There's the elephant, and the impala just off to the right. And they took very little notice of his trumpeting. So it'd be quite nice to stay with this young bull for a while, see if he does lead us towards a breeding herd. He's calmed down now. He's finished showing off, and he's started feeding again. Maybe slowly mobile through the block, and it's quite possible he is tracking a bigger herd. So we'll just sit with him for a little bit and see where he leads us. So I think I might be able to actually hear some other elephants ahead of him. Just going to move forward a little bit, see what we can see there. And elephant herds quite often can spread over quite a big distance. There we go. I thought I heard some more elephants. There's looks like a big cow up ahead, so let's go have a look if there are any little ones there. It's fantastic when the bush sort of answers your question or answers your wishes. Say, oh, I haven't seen elephants in a while, I'd really like to see some elephants. And then, boom, not even a minute later, we bump into the little boy and he's led us to a herd. Just gonna have a look. There's some cows off to the right. I just think that looks like some more out in a bit more open area up ahead. Oh, and it looks like they're actually in a mud wallow. Aha, isn't this going to be fun? There's two young ones playing in the mud with another younger bull. Just going to try and find the best spot to see the wallow. Try a little bit forward. Just unfortunately, I don't want to go too close and scare them, make them leave the wallow. But see, it's very important to keep your movements very slow and deliberate around elephants, so you're not trying to be aggressive. And here we go. Looks like lots of fun. I want to go play in the mud. So what they're doing now is they're just a bit curious. They've just noticed us. All having a scratch. They look like some more elephants coming from behind to join this wallow. This big female in front of us looks like she's pretty much finished with the wallow. Now probably can go find a nice tree to rub on. There we go. Here we go. Just as predicted, rubbing on. But this little boy is going to follow his mom. So we got here just in the nick of time as they were finishing their mud bath. There is another elephant coming towards the mud wallow. Might just sit here for a minute and see what happens. It sounds like there's action behind us. Group of elephants. I mean, they're very spread out, but there are a lot of them around us. So wasn't that wonderful? We came around the corner. I just said, wouldn't it be nice to see some elephants? I haven't seen them in a while. We came around the corner, almost had a head-on collision with a young bull. He trumpeted us a little bit, and chased some impala, and then we decided to just stay with him and follow him, because quite often those young bulls are on the peripheries of a bigger breeding herd, and now we're literally surrounded by possibly 30-35 elephants. There's some youngsters. There were a couple having a mud bath, but they've finished, and now I think they're gonna, after the mud bath, one looks like it's having a dust bath. Just going to move forward a little bit. See if we can get a shot of the one now throwing sand on top of the mud. Unfortunately, it's a little bit thick in here, so we can't actually go any closer at the moment. And so, after mud bath, dust bath. This helps with parasites. So basically, the mud will harden. The dust's quite nice and soothing and cooling. But what will happen if they do have parasites like ticks and that on their skin? They will bathe in the mud, and once the mud dries, they'll find a nice rubbing post, a tree, normally, and then they'll rub, and those parasites will come off encased in the mud. Last station, go again. I'm going to try reposition where we can get possibly a better view. There's a cow who's a bit closer to us who's also started the mud, the sand bath after the mud. Say when, Brian? That's good. And she's still there. So we're literally surrounded by about 35 elephants now that I can sort of see. It could be a few more. There's others moving in and out, but they are spread out over quite a wide area. Oh, isn't that nice? We can just hear elephants everywhere. I can't see all of them. At the moment, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Standing by. Not yet there. Still Mlungu's there. There's another nice big elephant cow behind us. Often behind Nkuhuma's left, lying up near the junction of the road that comes from Ingerskaya to Twin Dams. There's a fresh quarry bush in the road. Visual is about 2 out of 5 and only space for one vehicle there in the Tomboti thicket. And there's a large clumber of Indlove on Ingwe Alley, which is that little link road, that little link 2-track that runs from Twin Dams to Philemon's Dip. Apparently there was a report of Karula around Bofazok Dam. I wasn't out this morning, so I'm not sure. Hello, little one. There's a nice young elephant. Probably around a year old. Still. Good afternoon, Charlie, who's tweeting us this afternoon. And Charlie would like to know, how do they prevent dust going into, breathing in the dust when they are spraying themselves with dust? Well, Charlie, an elephant's trunk is made up of thousands of muscles, and also there's very, very thick, bristly hair in that, and they are able to just suck it, but not all the way in. So obviously they don't suck it into their lungs, and then they blow it out that way. And then we can have a look. This female is probably the mother of the little one we're just looking at. You can see she's lactating. Her udders are swollen, and that little one still, you see by the way he was using his trunk, is not ready for too many solids. So, and you can actually see that it's actually her nipple's a little bit wet, so it's probably been fed on in the last 10 or so minutes. And I'm quite sure, just looking at the proximity of that small elephant we just saw, that this is mom. Nice big female, nice long ivory for an elephant cow in this area. And see, the elephants also be quite happy by the rain we had recently. It's greened up the grass, and generally elephants, if they have a choice, will prefer to graze. So in the summer months, about 80% of what they eat is made up of grass. It's generally sweeter and higher nutritional value than most of the browse. And see, there we go, now that the youngster has now fallen just behind. I'm pretty sure that's his mom. And it's definitely a little boy, and that's all behavior. So if it had been a female, she probably wouldn't have done that. That's very much a little boy being a boy. It's just reminding us that he's an elephant, and he's very big, and he's very scary. But he needs to run to mom in case anything gets too serious. He might even shout and scream at us now that he's a bit closer to mom. There we go. He's coming to charge us through the trees, making sure there's a couple of logs between us and him, just in case we might decide to accept his challenge. Oh, mom got a bit far. There we go. Mom, see how brave I was. Did you see that? Did you see that? I showed them, mom. Oh, I can still hear there are more elephants coming through the bush all around us. I'll try reposition again. Oh, so never-ending elephant. So let's see who remembers a game we played a week or so ago, and that is the collective noun game. I was going to see who can remember what the collective noun for a herd of elephants is. That's the original sort of colonial collective noun for a herd of elephants. You can send your answers to questions at WildEarthTV, or you can just use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. I'm just going to reverse round to get back to where that little guy was. There are more elephants, but I'd just rather wait for them to come to us. And with elephants, it's quite important to let them come into your space rather than forcing yourself into their space. That way we can watch them peacefully, and also keeping your movements and your voice very constant so they don't take it as an aggressive behavior. Those of you who might be new, you were watching this elephant cow play in the mud at the exact same time as us. This is live from the middle of the bush in South Africa at Djuma Private Game Reserve to wherever you guys might be in the world. So, as I said a little bit earlier, we're hoping that more elephants would come in for a mud wallow. And here we go. Although the little boy seems like he's a bit nervous. Isn't this incredible? For those of you who hear that, click, 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 sorry, that's just me taking a few pictures. It's such an incredible sighting. It's so amazing. You can see the little guy hasn't quite managed to master the walking on the mud either yet. Climbing out on his knees. As we said a bit earlier, we're really hoping that some other elephants would move into this mud wallow, and we're really, really lucky. The big female with the nice long tusks and a tiny little male calf of hers who's have come, and they're probably about 5 meters from us, enjoying a nice cool off in the mud bath. If you look between her legs, he's literally sliding down on his belly. He's behaving like a proper noisy little boy. Boom! He just fell in from the top of the bank. Hasn't quite got the hang of this walking on slippery surfaces yet. See how she uses her trunk to flick the cool muddy water sort of underneath her to places that would be quite hot. Now she's actually picking up, see how she's breaking with her foot and picking up the mud. So now she's going to try using thicker pieces of mud. She's doing that to put on herself to get the thick mud to harden on her, and that's the mud that the ticks and other parasites will get caked in. And you see this little guy doesn't quite have control of his trunk yet. He's trying, but oh, isn't that cute? This guy seems to like jumping on this. Oh, no, he's going to. Oh, quite a little character, this one. And he seems to jump onto his back legs. He's done that a couple of times. Got another. Here's our. Isn't that wonderful? Being able to view something like that. So there's another elephant it looks like it's about to come do the same in the mud wallow, and interestingly enough, looks to be the same young boy that we initially spotted to the left coming in now, almost about to arrive at the mud wallow. There he is. It's the same elephant that we initially spotted that we followed through and sort of led us to the herd. So you deserve a mud bath. go. Sort of reminds me of that song, Splish Splash, I was taking a bath. Another interesting thing is you can see by the way the elephants kick their feet about in it, this is how bigger pans are formed. So a shallow depression, buffalo might wallow in it, warthog, and elephants by kicking it around, spraying the mud out. This is how a bigger pan is formed over many years and lots of usage. That's why elephants are such important animals in an ecosystem, because they do change the ecosystem. And just looking around here with the pan and the push down trees, you can see there's more grass coming through here, and this is a natural process. They're not doing any damage. So this area, possibly with this pan forming and the elephants feeding and pushing down trees around it, will become a lot more open over the next 50 to 100 years. And that's a natural process and elephants are able to do that. They are able to change the environment that they are in. I don't think they consciously do it, they just do it by the way they feed and move. Well done, Kathleen, who was one of the first on Twitter to send through what the collective noun, the old collective noun for elephant was, and it's a parade of elephants. I'm sure, thanks to everyone else who wrote in and got it right. I'm sure I hear there's a lot of you, but well done to Kathleen for being one of the first. Good afternoon, Angela from Boston. Angela would like to know, do all elephants have tusks? No, Angela, they don't. Just 1 second, I'll be back to your question. Angela, he's doing something quite strange here. He's actually putting mud into his mouth and eating it. So he might have a mineral imbalance that he's trying to sort out. He just ate a little bit of mud. There we're eating a bit more. But back to your question, Angela. Do all elephants have tusks? Majority do, Angela, but there are elephants that are born without tusks, and that's a genetic thing. And so there are some elephants that don't have tusks, but the majority do. So strange enough, we're back on the edge of the herd. So this is right on the peripheries. This young bull's obviously been very noisy, and that's why he's being pushed away from the main breeding group. So he's curling his trunk around to pick up the mud. You can see how he was loosening the mud with his trunk and whatnot. Uh-oh, careful. So all the other elephants have done this facing the other direction. We're actually in a bit of danger here. we might get a mud blast. So turn around. There we go, good boy. So he might even use his you see how he splashes the water up there? So he's trying to grab thicker mud with his with his trunk. Wasn't that spectacular? We were very spoiled today. We're going to move and see if we can catch up with the herd again. They seem to be heading towards quite a very steep and thick drainage line. But what we might be able to do is catch them on the other side of it. Just see them in the distance. I don't know if you could catch them disappearing there, Brian. And they've crossed through that steep drainage line. So we're going to shoot around, try to catch up with them on the other side. There are still a few elephants about. Oh, and another little baby. Oh, there's actually still quite a few right here. I'm just going to find a spot where we can get in there to have a look at them. Wasn't that fantastic? Oh, we got it. I think we've got another candidate for the mud wallow, so if you want to change around again, just have a quick look. Maybe try a different angle, the mud wallow this time. Yep, another candidate for the mud wallow. It's a busy wallow today. So this is a pretty popular mud wallow today. Another young bull has made his way toward the wallow, and we decided to take a bit of a safety move from where we were last time with the last elephant. There's a couple of those big splodges of mud nearly landed on us, so we've just changed to a different position to watch this one bathe in the wallow. If you can zoom in on his cheek and his ear there, you see it's a very green color on it. Quite interesting. What I think that's from is actually rubbing up against a tree that has a lichen on it and that coloring, but difficult to be sure. But that's what it does look like. Now you can see I was talking about how pans are formed. How each time another elephant comes in here, they kick up the mud, they spread the mud, they make it a bit deeper. Oh, have a sit down. Oh, that looks nice. That looks very comfortable. Taking it the max relax. Elephant spa day. Good afternoon, Sharon from Florida. Sharon would like to know whether I've ever been fortunate enough to be splashed by an elephant having a mud bath. It depends if you think that's fortunate or not, Sharon. I have, and it sometimes is not the best thing. That mud is quite smelly, and it can go everywhere. And I'm sure Brian would not want large pieces of mud splashed onto his camera.
Definitely
not. He'd be sitting there with a toothbrush tonight trying to clean the camera. But yeah, I've been splashed with mud, I've been sprayed with dust, and I've even been sprayed with water before. This guy's really making sure he's completely covered in mud. Maybe he's got a few more ticks than the others. Wants to get rid of them. Knows by it. But I personally think he just looks like he's enjoying it. It's quite cool and soothing. And there we go. Was that fun? Very much typical young boy behavior now. He's now showing us his ears, he's telling us he's big and we mustn't mess with him. So yeah, it's very important not to move too fast and keep your voice very calm. It's just moving too quickly or doing the wrong thing when an animal that size is that close to you can result in naughty behavior by the elephant. Here he comes back around the other side. Now he'll just move on off, following the rest of the herd. And we're going to try zoom around and catch the rest of the herd on the other side of the drainage line. But wasn't that fantastic? He really looked like he was loving that. Makes me think I should actually go for a mud bath one of these days. Get rid of my parasites. So it could take us a few minutes to zoom around. We can actually, there we go again in the distance, see them on the high ground opposite us, and there's a drainage line in between. So we're going to try zoom around and catch up with them. Stations is Mokulu Shambio, and Jove is slowly mobile south from that little two-track that runs between Twin Dams Road and Philemon's Dip towards Weaver's Nest. I'm going to move around and stay with them for a bit longer. Is there any update on the Shambian rider on Twin Dams against Kaya Junction? Copy that. There seems to be still a few elephants here on our left. Yeah, I'm trying to see, there's a couple of more young bulls. So I think we'll try and catch up with the main sort of parts of the herd. Yeah, well, it looks like all young bulls still here. So we're going to try and catch up with the females and the youngsters. So I'm going to drive a little bit quicker than I normally would for a couple of minutes, just so we can zoom around. There's no real easy place to cross this drainage line, so I'm going to shoot around to where we can cross the drainage line easily. So, we're going to be with those elephants shortly, nearly to the area where I'm able to cross. So hopefully we'll catch up with the females and the babies. Oh, so daisies. Bumpy, bumpy. And you never know what an elephant might find as they move through that drainage line. Maybe they'll stir up a leopard for us. Okay, I think there should be from about this termite mound on our left, because they are very spread out, and I said I reckon there's probably 30-35 elephants. Very difficult to gauge because they're just so spread out at the moment. I guess they were around here, or should be coming out onto the road around here. I think they're still closer to the drainage line. Could have changed direction in there since we last had a sighting of them.